In contrast to many NATO nations, Russia has preserved its tank manufacturing capabilities. This is not a matter of modernizing outdated vehicles. Rather, it pertains to a comprehensive production cycle. Consequently, the domestic defense industry is capable of mass-producing T-90s, limited quantities of the Armata platform, and vehicles that are based on it. Nevertheless, T-72s and T-80s are the only main battle tanks, MBTs, that are undergoing modernization. The absence of a repair base and the limited number of T-64s in storage have resulted in their marginalization. However, the front necessitates additional tanks, and the current inventory of vehicles is limited. T-80 tanks were manufactured in Omsk from 1979 to 1991 and in Kharkiv from 1987. In total, approximately 10,000 units of a variety of modifications were manufactured. Steel, fiberglass, and narrow spacing between the layers comprise the 5-layer upper frontal hull plate of the most recent modifications, the T-80U and T-80UD. The turret was a cast steel structure with an anti-spall liner. Within the cavity, 2 layers of cellular filler were positioned, separated by rolled steel plates of heightened hardness. The T-80U and UD provided approximately 700 millimeters of protection against shaped charges and 550 millimeters of protection against kinetic rounds. Additionally, the Contact 5 dynamic protection system provided an additional 150 millimeters of protection against kinetic projectiles and 450 millimeters of protection against shaped charges. Nevertheless, the primary distinction between the T-80U and UD is their engines. The Omsk model was equipped with a gas turbine GTE-1 that produced 1,250 horsepower, whereas the Kharkiv version had a 6TD1 that produced 1,000 horsepower. The T-80U was, of course, slightly speedier than its counterpart from the Ukrainian SSR. However, the disparity was not substantial. T-80s are no longer manufactured. They are merely being updated. It is important to mention that the T-80Us in the Russian army are not being modified. They are only deployed to the front after undergoing a significant overhaul. The T-80BVs are the ones that are being upgraded, as they have less robust protection than subsequent versions. Furthermore, their engine generates 1,100 horsepower. The T-80BV is upgraded to include the GTE-1 engine, the M designation, and the new Sosna U fire control system. The armor is also augmented with relict dynamic protection, replacing the basic Contact 1. Nevertheless, it is evident that the military is interested in the full-scale resumption of the production of the T-80 series tanks, rather than its mere modernization. Certainly, the T-80 will endure substantial modifications in comparison to the T-80U of the late 1980s and early 1990s if it is reintroduced to production today. The production of the turrets for these tanks was discontinued a considerable amount ago. However, engines are still being manufactured from the ground up for installation in the T-80 BVM. Additionally, there is no rationale for reviving antiquated fire control systems when there are more contemporary alternatives. Nevertheless, the 2A46 M4 gun's production will require an increase in volume, as it was initially designed for the T-80 due to its unique loading mechanism. The fundamental hull design is nearly identical to that of the T-72 or T-90, which suggests that hull production could be resumed. Minor modifications may be required in the powertrain compartment, PTC, and the driver's observation devices, which employ 3 periscopes rather than the solitary one found on tanks from Nizhny Tagil. What does this imply? The T-80 could have a new turret. One possibility is that it can be fitted with a T-90M turret. The standard turret ring of the ProRev turret ensures that it is completely compatible with other Soviet-designed MBTs. Nevertheless, the loading mechanism will necessitate a modification to the under-turret receptacle instead of an autoloader. The Kalina fire control system and a machine gun with a panoramic sight will be included in the T-80 in addition to the turret. The hull will probably remain unaltered. Another option exists. A T-80 with an alternative turret was depicted in a Facebook image from 2023. This may be the Burlak turret, which is noted for its secrecy. The claimed photographs depicted a Burlak tank cannon and turret that have been in development since 2005. The program was initiated with the objective of replacing the Soviet-era main battle tanks, MBTs, with a new platform by 2025. It entailed the implementation of a novel, unified two-man combat turret that could be mounted on the T-72, T-80, and T-90 MBT chassis. Nevertheless, the project was indefinitely suspended due to financial difficulties, and it appeared that there had been minimal, if any, progress in recent years. However, this initiative could have been revived by Russia. The photo of the tank was described by a user in the Courage forum as a T-80 BVM chassis with a doped Burlak fighting compartment. An additional source of information regarding the tank is the Russian blog BTVT. The blog notes that the project's objective was to facilitate the modernization of remaining Russian tanks and tank technology, thus creating a modern MBT. Although it was previously cancelled, it is important to consider that this could be significantly more cost-effective than the T-14 Armata, which has been repeatedly postponed. According to the blog, the tank employs a novel design turret with a low frontal profile and a detachable transport and loading module. The front fuselage and turret are equipped with modular armor protection. The crew is situated in the hull beneath the turret ring and is entirely isolated from ammunition and fuel. The ammo is stored in the autonomous transport and loading module located at the rear of the turret. The explosion redirecting panels, also known as blow-off panels, are used to deflect the blast wave. It was also noted that the turret would be divided into 3 distinct compartments for the gunner, tank commander, and cannon. In this manner, it would offer improved protection without any increase in overall dimensions, but with a minimal increase in mass. Furthermore, the autoloader would be installed outside the combat compartment. In the event of an ammunition fire, the blast would be directed outward, thereby preventing it from causing damage to the tank's interior or placing the crew at a higher risk. However, the more significant factor is that the Burlak turret system could be implemented on the T-80 tank chassis, which Russia likely possesses in the hundreds, if not thousands, for this purpose. The T-14's sophisticated features would be absent from this upgraded tank. However, it would be considerably more cost-effective, and Russia could promptly manufacture hundreds of them. It is likely that the prospect of possessing modernized tanks that are still functional is more appealing than the interminable wait for a few of the more advanced T-14s to arrive. The imperative requirement for tanks on the front line necessitates the resumption of full-scale production of the T-80 series tanks. The number of vehicles that can be repaired is limited. Furthermore, the T-80 BVM is operating efficiently at the front. The tanks of the 21st century will not be identical to the T-80U and will incorporate substantial modifications, particularly in the turret, which may be adapted from the T-90M. Now, do you think the T-80 Burlak is a real tank or just a technology demonstrator? Let us know in the comments. Please like and share our videos and subscribe to our channel